Yeah, Google's DeepMind pulled up and said, "Seema," as they dropped the new agent called Seema, scalable, instructable, multi-world agent is what they're calling it, which is pretty cool, man. And it's something that we kind of touched on a couple episodes ago, like some possibilities like this. Remember, Viking was talking about potentially, having them do something like this. But Seema is an AI agent that can perceive and understand a variety of environments, then take actions to achieve an instructed goal. So this is a little bit different than the AI that we've been seeing, like AI NPCs that you can talk to, and they have like generative responses that they, keep the fresh and new feel when it comes to gaming. But this one's a little bit different. This one seems like it's going to be like on the other side of the rope as a player. So this agent can go into specific games, learn how to play the games, and then just play the games. It's been trained successfully on No Man's Sky, Teardown, Valheim, Satisfactory, and Goat Simulator 3. Mike, and I know you know a little bit about that game.
What, Goat Simulator? Yeah. 100%.
Somebody be on that game.
Somebody.
Yeah, me and the kids be playing, bro.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. But with this new piece of AI that could potentially come in and be a player, how do you think that this will affect the industry as a whole? I'm going to go with you first, Blue.
So I hadn't paid much attention to Google's AI that much until today. I started reading into it because I know that, dude, they've been doing crazy stuff for like 15 years.
Yeah.
I was shocked to go back and read like 2010. They started in AI and like started with teaching it against games, right? Starting with Atari games, and it's like advanced like a child. It is grown up like a child. It's crazy how fast this has gone. And there's definitely a fight now, right, between Microsoft and Google for their AI superior domination. So
and then Apple just bought
is really the
Apple just bought one today too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just saw the news before we started the show. But go ahead, I'll try to find it.
No, I am far from the AI expert, and Colt knows a ton about AI and how it's going to be integrated right into gaming. But clearly, I mean, they've been using AI against gaming, right, to learn and to know how to grow it, from what I read, right? And this one seems like it's advanced. It seems like it's, far and above, way smarter than my pea brain. So I am super, super like interested in AI, but when I start reading some of the articles about it, I start to like thinking about what I'm gonna cook for dinner, like, because like it's so smart, and the stuff that goes into it is so interesting, right? Like I'm like, if you want to make me a car that'll drive me somewhere, have at it. Like I'm all for it, right? I trust AI, but it's a delicate balance, of course, right? Because we are seeing the effects on the industry and layoffs and stuff like that, right? Due to where it's gonna go. So it's something to be in awe of, but cautious of too, right?
Definitely. And be kind to yourself, Blue. It only has 600 basic skills. You can do way more than 600 basic skills. We're not going to do that today. Nope. Not Women's History Month either. Nope. We doing
Have you seen me trying to use all of the buttons in Tekken? I highly doubt.
Tekken's tough.
Those Tekken combos are like,
Tekken as a whole is tough. So
Tekken is tough.
yeah.
But no, like this thing does seem pretty cool, man. This is one of the ways that it did, like they're teaching it in the beginning phase. So Google recorded a pair of humans playing, and it let this AI like watch and listen and then observe the game. And that's how a part of the reason of why or how it's used to like learn, which is crazy to me. Like this technology is so interesting. But Colt, I'm gonna go to you next since you have a ton of info on the AI, sir. So how do you think that this one will impact the industry as a whole?
Well, the first thing that AI is going to do is turn all of us into goo and use it to power their machines. That'll be the first thing that'll happen.
High on life.
Skynet, baby.
Yeah. Alien
Matrix.
goo. Yeah. So nobody wants to talk about AI. I did a video a few months ago and people were really repulsive of the idea. Even with, there's really creative things that AI could do to really enhance games. And if you use it to offset the creative things that developers make and use it for automation, it could take 6 to 7 year dev cycles and bring them back into 3 or 4 years where they're supposed to be. But Microsoft's been talking about this for a long time because I think they've been wanting to do this for a long time. They notoriously do things way earlier than they should. But now everybody is trying to get their own piece of AI in the software. They're doing it in the silicon and the hardware, and they want to be able to automate ways to make money, really is what it's about. But I think in the end result for us as gaming fans, like this panel, the chat and the audience who's watching, like we want to know, how does this directly benefit us? And I think before we start seeing real-time interaction with NPCs, which will come soon, I think we really need to see them just cranking away in the background, the mediocre tasks that make games take so long to create: programming, bug testing, level design, procedural generation, stuff like that. I think that's where AI is going, because they're even putting AI into the new consoles so that you can get frame rate generation and resolution boosting. And we're just at the very beginning of it. It's funny because Viking and I were talking this morning. He's like, "Hey, what do you want the image above your picture on the podcast?" And I said, "Here, let me get one for you." And I made one with my guitar, like I just in the description. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot you know how to use this." Like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to use, but I've been doing AI imagery for like the past year and a half, up to the point where I just don't like it anymore because it has a certain style, right?
Yeah.
It's so brand new. It's really less than 2 years old in its mainstream situation. And I think it's going to become a big part of gaming because they want that money back now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So definitely they do. And I'm glad that you did bring up that the AI, they have in the AI in the hardware as well. Because I believe when I was looking, because I need to build another PC soon, man, and they may actually, Intel may put some AI in their new CPUs that's coming out the end of this year.
I've been hearing
So,
that.
They just made that big deal with Microsoft, right? Didn't
Yep.
Microsoft and Intel
Yep.
make that mega deal for some AI integration?
Yep.
For some
When are you
handhelds,
at-
hopefully.
When are you ever supposed to upgrade your computer correctly, man? I was just
I
like,
don't think that exists.
I don't think that it exists, man. It's like you just have to pull the trigger at some point, I guess, huh? 'Cause I'm going to the same thing.
You know, it's funny. It's probably more often than you would get a new console at this point. When you get around 5 or 6 years, your PC is really starting to where it show its age, and you get the next AAA game, you're definitely not going to push it the way you did when you first built your PC or the first couple years in. So, like one of my friends, well, we won't say his name, but it starts with an R and ends with Andel Thor 19. He's like, "I'm going to buy a 4090 PC. I'll never use it to game, but I just want to get the best so it'll last longer." I'm like, what, 6 to 8 years? Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So I've been buying one for production and gaming. I buy one like every 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Because I want something a little bit more powerful to keep up with production and stuff like that. But I don't know. Hey, I want a new console every 4 years. That's me.
too.
Like if Xbox is like, "Hey, from now on, the Xbox Series X2 is coming out 4 years after the X, and then the X3 will be out 4 years after that," I'd be like, "Let's do it. Let's do it." Because I'll take that sucker down I'll take it down to GameStop if they're still around. I'll get $300 out of it and put it toward the next $600 Xbox. That's what I would do, and I wouldn't complain at all.
That's true. It's not bad at all.
Because then you'd have the power. Right now, we don't have the power. We don't have the power. You can't do it.
Before I throw it to Scale, Viking, want to grab the
boy. He did it again. Another 20. Lotus, you're too kind. For the kids, baby. Gang. It really is a Horn Hub episode, ain't it?
Oh my goodness.
All right, here we go. That was kind of trash, but it's okay. It's kind of trash, but okay. It's entertaining. It was entertaining. Let's keep it at that. Thanks, Lotus, for the 20, man. And then he comes back with a 10.
Dang.
My dog.
Thank you.
Lotus Esprit.
Esprit.
Love it, man. Appreciate it. For the kids, they're going to love it, man. For the kids. Oh, I hit a high note. I felt like Umbra for a second.
He won't appreciate that.
No.
No.
Oh man. All right, cool. Thanks for the super stickers, man. For sure. Those are dope.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
Doc and Chat cracking up right now.
That's what we're here for. He said he died in his car. All right, cool. Whatever.
Anyway. We're moving right along, but no, it definitely could have. We're talking about the AI, the SEMA, could have some effects. So I was just thinking about this, man. This could potentially affect beta testing in the future. Who knows, man? If you could teach an AI bot to do some things, man, in some gaming universes, we may get some less keys out here in the future. Who knows? But Skellington, what do you think about this effect on the industry?
I think. You know what's crazy? I had my first thought about this was just the initial use of this as far as like gamers using it. And I was just like, man, this would have me lazy as shit. I'm gonna have this thing just gathering all my resources in survival games. I'm just gonna have it do whatever I want. That's how I thought about it at first. I didn't even think about the mass scheme of things. And to be really honest, Viking and I were talking in the green room, and I think he has he kind of took the best points of everything we were talking about. I think he has really good points on it, and I just keep wanting to hear what he has to say on it. So I think Viking has a good point on this that I think should get out because it's good. Because I don't want to say it because I think I want to make sure he gets the credit for what he has to say. So I think passing it to Viking.
Right? Yeah. So both of you, Colt and Nova, both brought it up, right? Like beta testing, QA, and stuff like that. This is 100% going to take first and foremost. If you can teach it to play the game, this is 100% going to take QA like out of business, right? And that's going to suck for a lot of QA testers. But what's going to happen, imagine having these things being able to play through a whole game nonstop, and you can have 20 to 40 of them going at the same time, 24/7 to find as many bugs as possible. And then tell it to report back to you on what bugs they found. That way you wake up in the morning and you have all the error codes and everything that the AI told you, and you can get cracking. And then it's all recorded, and you can see exactly what they went through, clipping, error codes that crashed the game, everything, or not being able to progress past a certain mission, which would in turn produce faster games, right? Because I don't know how much of the dev cycle goes towards fixing problems with the game. Right. Probably quite a bit. Right. So yeah, to me, that's what it's going to be. Probably come off as like, we'll be able to have unique AI for NPCs. Right. Ultimately, they're going to be using this shit for for QA testing. Yeah, 100%. And then Google bought this, right? So, yeah, so other people are probably going to follow suit and try to do the same thing. or contract out Google's AI to run it on their game for a certain amount of time, which would be nuts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The QA testing part was like the part I wanted to bring up as far as about as affecting the industry too, because that's just more jobs. That's like the entry level thing
It is
in
entry
the
level,
industry
yeah.
too. It's like QA tester, and then if they can do it on their own, 24/7, man, and it brings polish. It's there. There goes some jobs. From the gamer's perspective, this is all good. I have no issue with this.
And they could even get the little agents to send emails, like who knows, bro? No, for real. Like in some of the applications, I've worked on, if something goes through, you can get an email, you click approved, you know what I mean? So there's things that you can do.
Big facts. Colt, what do you think about the QA testing theory that I have? Does that sound probably about accurate, or is it something that probably won't do that?
Well, it's like word for word what Matt Booty said about 2 years ago at the PAX panel. Yeah, he said the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably what you heard when you were saying that. He said that they could have hundreds of instances of the game being pushed and tested, and like they pay a tester to run around and try to jump and hop over fences or over buildings to get through areas and skip quests. Like this is things they do in testing. And they can ask the AI to run it in different, like hundreds of different instances where they just try and break the game or try to exploit it. And then in the morning, like you said, they come in the morning and see the results and start fixing them. Yeah, I mean, games take 6 to 7 years now. And it's, shout out to Mag, my co-host, who has been talking to industry people working in movie, TV, and games. And they're all really the major stress point is that these studios, you pay these full-time employees for 2 to 3 years and then ship the game, and then the publisher get paid, and then the cycle would continue. Now they're paying them to work in that studio and have the lights on for 6 years. Still, they haven't been paid. And it's the publishers that are pushing the hardest. They're partially one of the major problems that we're seeing in the games industry, because they want their return on investment immediately. And they used to get it every 2 years or 2 to 3 years when a game would come out last decade. And now when a game takes 7 years, they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting. And those studios, they spent more money than they wanted to. Profit margins are razor thin. Insomniac, one of the best developers in the world, is barely broken a profit with Spider-Man because of franchise fees and longer development time and how expensive it is to make games. So somebody's got to step in. I guess it's the robots.
Yeah. Hey, so speaking of that, about like the dev cycle being extended, something really smart. We was just talking about Baldur's Gate 3. Something I thought that was really fucking smart that they did was you had to pay the full price. And of course it's Larian, so they probably could have done this, but it was 3 years before launch that they released it in early access, but you had to pay for the full game. And they took all that feedback from people, right? And then they came out with a banger, and they listened to feedback heavily. But initially you had to pay the full price of the game to get into early access on PC. And it was still playable. I played about maybe 120 hours during that 3 years of the game. You did? Yeah. And it was phenomenal because you can have so many that's a different kind of game, because you can have so many different playthroughs. They introduce new classes, new races as you go along, and fix different parts of the game and extend dialogue. So there was some flexibility there with that game. Do you think we start seeing more of that, probably, to at least recoup some of the initial investment cost to put it into early access?
I don't know. There's some people have been burned and waited. Like Star Citizen still isn't out, and they've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on the game per person. Yeah. I think it's Star Citizen, but I think that's an exception to the rule. I think game development as the traditional, I've been trying to bang this drum, the traditional exclusive, the traditional game release has to wholly change to keep the market healthy right now. Right. I would predict that Spider-Man 3 or Wolverine do two things. I predict that Wolverine, it's very possible that that game will launch day and date on PC when it comes out for the PS5 in 2025 or 2026. I think it's 2026, right? So Wolverine will probably either launch on PC or very, very soon after. And then I would not be surprised if Wolverine is an incredible 20-hour experience that ends on a cliffhanger meant to pick back up next year in 1 year's time with the second half of the Wolverine campaign for $50 and then another $50. And
so $100
people may not like that,
but
if you only pay $50, you get this killer open world, tight-knit story for Wolverine. For $50, you get 20 plus hours out of it. And then it ends on this cliffhanger and you're like, next holiday, I'm going in for Wolverine Part 2. And what they do is they basically take that game that used to be one whole game, split it into two, and make it service-based. And I think Insomniac's leaks have kind of hinted at that. So they have to change. You can't just make a $70 AAA game and sit on it, because now you've got all these publishers saying, it didn't meet our expectations. We're Square Enix. I don't know what happened. We only got PS5. I don't know. I mean, we met with Phil. And Phil's like, hey, we should bring our games to Xbox as well, but we have this contract here, and Jim Ryan's mitts are all over it. And it can't go like this anymore. It's not working.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy nowadays. Like, especially with inflation, and it's a lot of stuff going on.
Question: you were talking about Spider-Man and the profitability or lack thereof, right? With 2. So now that they've just canceled what looked like a really good build of the multiplayer, right? Do they, when they're doing their books, do they count all of the money it took to get it to that place against Spider-Man 2, or it's just a separate thing? They're not going to count that and be like, well, now we're actually, in the hole this much more, right? Or
well, it's just the employees are just they're still full-time employees working there. The FTEs, they're working on DLC. They're working on Wolverine, and then one section of the team's like, hey, we're going to pull this multiplayer thing together. Let's make a trailer, which will help get everybody excited about it. So they're there working. They're not like being let go because they work there. So
no, but it's still hours.
Employed.
It's still hours that are billed to a specific thing, right? Like that are lost, right? It is it is a loss.
You have to assume that Insomniac has probably 3 major billing codes for their employees. Your billing work that you're doing for Wolverine, but it's all under the same publisher, right? At Sony Interactive Entertainment is the publisher, so they're doing that work. But normally when they're ready to make a game, the publisher says, all right, here's your money. Like when you're building a house, here's your $270 million. Go make Spider-Man 2. And then they got to get it done in time and under budget, or within budget, so they can make their money. So the Insomniac employees that were working on the Spider-Man multiplayer game were just billing, to their studio, just like billing their hours so that the studio could pay them. So I don't think it's a major loss.
You think it's directly credited then to that, and they're not, you know what I mean? Like that all goes to the balance sheet because it was part of like the operating cost for this game.
It would be different when we're talking about Crystal Dynamics working on Perfect Dark for Xbox and the Initiative Studio. Like they're an independent contractor right now for Xbox. They're working, so they're billing to their contractor who's Xbox. But with Insomniac, those people have a job and they just come in every morning at 8 and do their thing. So I've also heard that I wouldn't stand here. We shouldn't just stand here and say that the Spider-Man multiplayer game is canceled, because I've heard that they may just try to take all that work and fold it into either Spider-Man 3, or maybe make an update and throw it into Spider-Man 2 as DLC or something to monetize it. I also heard that the monetization was the problem. They couldn't get it monetized properly. Like they didn't have a good loop that gets people hooked and playing and staying for more. So PlayStation doesn't know how to do that, and they bought Bungie to help.
Yeah,
to help, and Bungie's been like, nope. nope, shut it down. Get the dogs. And
Get the dog.
but to
He
their
said,
credit,
"Shut
like, and I think it's Arrowhead Studios. I'm hoping I remember that, like with Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
they're doing, like I'm thinking they're doing it on their own. Like, hey, this is our setup. It's working great. The game is still massively successful, super popular. It's rising in players still after being out for almost a month. So that's working. But I don't attribute that to PlayStation because everything else I've seen them do, there's like, I just can't get it off the ground.
Yeah.